In this tutorial we're going to cover the raising of purchase orders for stock in the PT200 solution. So if we click the stock button from the main menu, and you'll see the stock menu, and we're going to be going into purchase orders, but just as you see, there are a number of other buttons that are currently greyed out and inactive, and that's because this particular installation is a standard installation and doesn't have a license to do the inventory control which would activate these buttons here. We'll be covering those in a future video, but for now we're assuming it's a standard installation, so we're going to cover the purchase orders. So if we click the purchase orders button, this brings up the list view that you'll be familiar with within the PT200, and we're just going through to insert a new one, and this brings up a blank purchase order screen. So you see that the system has generated a purchase order number and filled in the delivery address. Now there is the option to change the delivery address if we wish. We can select this to yes, and we can change any of these values here. If for instance you want it to be delivered to your home address, you could change this to your home address. But for now we're going to deliver it to the shop address. Next is the supplier details. So if you select the supplier, so click in the supplier field, and this will bring up the list of the suppliers you've currently got in your system. So if we select the tall hat company in this instance, and you'll see that it's auto-filled the account number that we have included within the tall hat company detail for the supplier. Next we need to select some products for this particular order. So if we go right ahead and click the products button, this will bring up the product control. It's very similar to the ePOS product control screen. We have a search function, a quantity, and a delete function. So if we go through to search, we can select an item, and you'll see this has added the item to the purchase order. It's also added the cost of the item to the purchase order, and it's set the quantity to 1. That's the default quantity. So obviously we would probably want to increase that. So if we select the item, select products, and change the quantity, so we can put 50 in there, and that's changed the quantity to 50 and the purchase order value to £250, 50 times the cost of the item. So we can add another product, very tall hat, and we want 20 of those. And once again you'll see those have been added to the purchase order. So once we've finished adding the products, we can add some notes to this particular order if you really want. I need these desperately. Obviously having a run on hats, so we could add notes, and then we can print the order out in order to send it to the supplier. So if we go through and click print, you'll see there's a dialog for selecting the printer. We're going to use the default Epson stylus printer on this system. So if we click print, you can set the page margins depending on the page format that you have loaded, and it will prompt you and ask you if you want to preview this or you just want to print it. Well, in our case we're going to preview it, and if we bring that to the middle of the screen, you can see that's the purchase order with the merchant name in here, and the details of the supplier, and the delivery address, and the notes you added, and the product. Notice that this is the merchant detail and not the shop detail. So the delivery address in our case was the shop detail, but you could have entered that as a specific delivery area but the merchant name and address is to whom the invoice and the supplier would be associated with. Similarly, there is the purchase order number, date, and the supplier account number, etc. on the purchase order. So that's adding purchase orders to the system. We can go ahead and save that one, and you'll see that's loaded the purchase order. When the products have been received, if you select the purchase order and select edit, you can go in and delete the purchase order from there. So that will prompt you, do you want to delete that? And yes, you do. So the purchase order is cleared off the system, and obviously you would enter that into the back office accounting system. So that's raising purchase orders in the standard version of the PT200. As I said, the license would give you access to the order receiving, so you'll be able to receive individual items, set up inventory locations, transfer in and out from shops and from the internal location.